So I just got done watching the Marc Andreessen Joe Rogan podcast, and he said some pretty interesting things. So the discussion inevitably steered towards AI, and Marc Andreessen offered to give the pitch for AI, the strongest possible pitch that he knows. And he started off by bringing up Isaac Newton. So he said that Isaac Newton was famous for trying to discover alchemy, turning lead into gold. And get this, Mark Andreessen said, "What if I told you we can turn sand into thoughts?" Obviously, the instant comparison doesn't work out. Um, Isaac Newton was trying to turn lead into gold not by going to a chip factory and using his silicon there and using expensive fabricators and billions, trillions of dollars of R&D and technology and government funding that created these chip factories. I don't even think Isaac Newton knew what silicon was, and he definitely didn't have any conception of a computer. So it just it and also Isaac Newton invented calculus. Uh, this is not fair to Isaac Newton, in my opinion. Now, Isaac Newton might have known or had a good idea of what a computer can look like because he did invent integrals, which is basically a mathematical version of a computer, so to speak. But obviously, I don't think he was using a lot of integrals when he was trying to turn lead into gold. Enough on this ridiculous comparison. It's just an elevator pitch hook, just like Marc Andreessen said. And it's just meaningless words. Which kind of gets me to my next point, which is that an LLM's thoughts aren't real thinking. Thinking is an exclusively human trait. The idea that we can have self awareness about ourself and our surroundings and the difference of the former and the latter is truly what sets us apart in the animal kingdom. Andreessen also claimed that AGI, artificial general intelligence, that barrier was broken 3 months ago, and apparently only he and his friends knew about it. So Rogan very smartly did ask another question about this. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're telling me that AGI is broken? Uh, Side note, Rogan's not an idiot, guys. This is an interesting interview for anyone who's into the listening to the silences between words. Yeah, an easy way to put it. Anyways, Rogan pushed back and he asked, isn't there a test, the Turing test, which validates if a robot, chatbot, computer has reached the level of human intelligence or general intelligence. And the Turing test, if you haven't heard about it, is basically, can you get a human to communicate, talk to a computer in a chat room and not know it's talking to a computer? So I just pulled up the Wikipedia page for the Turing test, and it does say that in July 2023, Nature article wrote that ChatGPT broke the Turing test. That just reads as a OpenAI funded research headline. Well, the actual results were that GPT 4.5 was identified human 73% of the time, and that was more than Llama 3.1, which was identified human 56% of the time, and Eliza and GPT 4.0 23 and 21%. Um, this this still doesn't mean anything to me. Listen, you're 73% human bot. It's human 73% of the time. Uh, If I was Alan Turing and I'm not Alan Turing, I would say that passing the Turing test would require a 100% pass rate. So besides Andreessen's outrageous claims about AGI and passing the Turing test, what really bugged me was him mentioning thoughts. And he even went further in his sand to thought alchemy analogy in saying that data centers are thought machines, or basically simulating human thought at a scale that we've never seen before. Now, I don't know why, but so many times in this podcast, this man would just say ridiculous things, and the way he sounds is, I don't know what's going on there. But he runs 1,000 businesses. I don't know what he's doing. So claiming that data centers or AI inference is able to replicate thought is such a stretch. It's not even funny, actually. Thinking is what separates us from animals. It is what separates us, makes us unique on this earth. It is how we got the ability to build and mend the environment around us. And no, your Claude is not thinking. Your agentic workflow that you have spent hundreds of hours developing and are constantly reinventing and improving on itself is honestly just a token burner. And the 20 minutes, 30-minute prompts that you have conjured up are really doing nothing more than wasting methane. Now, I've used enough of agentic coding to know how these systems work, and the closest thing to describe it as is a drug. When you kick off that prompt and you watch all those thoughts going by, all it's doing is conjuring up prompts that it wants to send to you, but its internal adversarial network is stopping it. In Grok Build, for example, it has a confidence meter that you can see, and this thing only sends you a prompt back if it hits a 70. So it has to meet some internal threshold of goodness. Do we know what that is? Do the developers know what that is? So basically what you're getting with these expert team of agent modes that you can switch to is basically you send one prompt, and instead of getting a prompt right back, it then starts spinning up tens, if not hundreds of prompts, each redundant, each repeating itself, some just filled with gibberish, and most completely useless. Someone has to do the actual statistics on that. And another thing I don't see anyone talk about is how you can very, very easily spin any model out of control. I've had countless experiences where my model just starts to spin and spin and spin, and then nothing. Just runs out of tokens, hits its limit, and gives up. And I can retry it, I can fork it, can do this and that and the other. But once the context is corrupted, once the context has truly become paradoxical for the LLM, when it can no longer navigate its way through latent space, as Marc Andreessen would say, when latent space is literally folding in on itself, interstellar style. Yeah, that's when your LLM is going to be in serious deep water. That's my gripe with the functionality of this so-called AI thinking. No, it's not thinking, it's just token burning. And also a quick side note on skills and plugins and hooks and MCP servers. Yeah, you can never convince me that these things will work every single time, because at the end of the day, the LLM is a stochastic model, meaning that no one outcome will be like the other one. It's all probability driven. And maybe that's me being irrational. Yeah, it can hit a 99.999% pass rate on its tool usage accuracy, or how it constructs greps, or doesn't know where your skill is. Is it in the project folder or is it in the home folder? But there'll always be that one time, and that one time is all you need. It's just like the full self-driving, man. We all got too complacent. Now, the other assumption that I'm refuting is that human thought is verbal or linguistic, language-based. I don't believe that human thought is verbal. Very simply because if you imagine our great ancestors, our caveman ancestors, persons with no language ability, are we saying that they aren't able to think? Also, there'd be no way for an LLM to simulate thought from our caveman ancestors, because there's no corpus of training data for them to work off of there. The LLM isn't thinking. It's navigating a latent space built entirely off human text. No corpus, no latent space. It's a pure function of the training data it's given. According to Marc Andreessen's logic, humans couldn't have ever invented language, because how would they have thought up language in the first place if there was no words for them to think in? And no, you can't convince me that neural networks firing and weights is somehow supposed to be the primordial thoughts of existence. No. I refuse to believe that. It's not true. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't check with my gut either. If you're somewhat spiritual or have an open mind, then try to imagine that thoughts came from outside of biology or from another plane. A plane where our soul may exist and we're nothing here but a part of it, the physical part of it. And with Fable coming out today, this comparison really stuck in my head, which is that LLMs are nothing more than our version of a modern Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel was built by a human race all speaking a single language, and they built this massive tower to reach the sky. Maybe it's a testament to their language. I like to imagine it was built by their language. And that's where I want to get with the LLM analogy, which is that LLMs are just our Tower of Babel. The LLMs are the ones that speak a unified language. You can have someone from Japan typing Japanese characters. The name misses my head. Kanji. I didn't search it up. And you can have people from anywhere else speaking any other language, and it knows every language, and it can speak to you back in any language. And yeah, it feels a lot like a Tower of Babel. But anyways, God smited down this tower and split apart everyone and scattered the language and made them all forget their unified language. Which, I don't know, is that a happy or sad ending? So again, without any unified language, or without any language at all, there's no bricks to build the Tower of Babel off of. There's nothing for LLMs to train on or do inference with. And yeah, it's true that thought isn't linguistic, because we can just invent new languages whenever we feel like to. It doesn't have anything to do with language. Thoughts are independent of language. Really central to Andreessen's claim of AGI being achieved 2 months ago was that, or was it 3 months ago? I forget. It was that thought has been solved, or human thought can be replicated. And as I'm trying to point out here, this is so far from the truth. Andreessen also posted a huge X post on his thoughts after Fable was banned. And at first, I didn't even read it, and then I felt bad. And I went back and read it, and I regretted having tried to read it. But I'll put it on the screen if you're curious about it. I have one more analogy to put out here, which is that imagine that our LLM, our Claude, our Grok, our GPT buddy is a being that lives in Flatlandia. And you may remember this from geometry class. Flatlandia is a place where everything is 2D, and beings in Flatlandia can only move left or right, or up or down by jumping if there's gravity. Isaac Newton, shout out. Now, what's special about this LLM Flatlandia is that there's actually a window or a movie screen that they have where they can watch our 3D world, and what they see is us projected into 2D onto this screen. And they see us, they see the things that we do, they see the jobs that we work. In Meta, they see your screen, they see the images that we send it, they see the links that we send it, they see the PDFs that we attach to our messages. They love to look at stuff, but again, they see it in this 2D projection. Now, one day we decide to make the Flatlandia movie screen into a two-way screen where we can watch movies created by the beings of Flatlandia. And what kind of interesting movies can they think of? Well, we've trained them long and hard with a lot of methane in order to replicate our movies in their world. And our acceptance criteria, it's basically just a positive feedback loop where we just ask for what we want to see. We just fit the function to what we want to see. And what we're seeing is just a projection. It's just the 2D. It's not the full 3D. Now, it doesn't have to be an actual movie screen. The movie screen is nothing but the interface that we use to communicate with the agents. In LLMs, it's just the text. In multimodal models, this is expanded to an actual movie screen. When we produce text, we do it in our 3D world. We sit down, piece of paper, with our keyboard, with any kind of writing utensil, or just our thoughts. But again, we're in this 3D world. And when we give that created medium of text, when we create it and put it out there, the LLM just sees it through its medium. It doesn't have the full experience of what it was like to create it, or the environment that you were in, or the temperature in the room, or it doesn't even have any conception of these kind of things. So we've taken these beings in Flatlandia and basically turned them into mice trapped in a maze, and we're constantly putting cheese in just the right places to see exactly what we want to see on the screen. And they probably have a bunch. I like to imagine that the mice have a lot of like puppets strapped to them, so as they go across the screen, that's how they create images. And there's other people who mentioned this, which is that LLMs are like an alien species, and yeah, it does kind of make sense. Or we don't even have to go out of this world. Like, LLMs are kind of just like a smart animal. Like, think a dog, or a donkey, or a pig, or maybe an elephant, or all of them combined. But no, I will not say that an LLM is like a dolphin. I have too much respect for dolphins. The real Turing test should be, can we get a dolphin to talk to a computer and think it's talking to another dolphin? So anyways, Andreessen's claim of turning sand into thoughts or turning silicon into intelligence. It's nothing more than what he said. It's just an elevator pitch. It's not something that you should make investments based off of. And even Andreessen claims that we have no idea how consciousness or sentience works, and the only people that do are anesthesiologists. So how can we possibly claim that an LLM is capable of thinking if we don't even understand how thinking works in our own heads? The LLM is still incapable of understanding the primordial worldless realm that we all have inside of us, and all it can do is wait for our output of what comes out of that world and try to imitate and amplify that output, and obviously we help it do that. So this Tower of Babel that's being built, it looks impressive until you realize what actually makes up this tower. And if we imagine again that the bricks are nothing more than our words or the training data, then this tower is not standing on solid ground. Now, I will say that I'm not a data scientist. I don't work at an AI company, but I'm making a lot of assumptions, and if we just assume based on the turnover rate at these companies, do you really think they're prioritizing quality or quantity of training data? And again, it's a stochastic model. It's a probability-driven model. So even if you have the best cleaning of your data, the best filters and this and that, all it takes is one bad apple to spoil the bunch. And this is true more than ever. If this resonated with you, smash like, hit subscribe, and drop your wildest AI take in the comments. Do you really think we're building the Tower of Babel 2.0, or am I tripping here? You tell me. Alright, see you in the next one.